If you guys were here earlier, you know our next speaker needs no introduction. I hope you guys are ready to have your minds blown and your hearts transformed by the Word of God through our friend Harris III.
Awesome. Hey, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We were chatting backstage earlier. Someone let me know that there are a few of you based on the last session that just really wanted to share some of your story with me. We didn't get a chance to connect, so I wanted to announce this before I forget. I'm going to be out in the lobby. There was a table out there. We didn't bring stuff to sell you guys anything or anything like that, but where those tables, where that would have been in the lobby, it's got my name on it or something. I'm just going to come hang out by those tables after this session, and for those of you who want to meet or say, hey, I would love to meet you guys, not because I'm important, not because I'm any more special than any single person in this room, just in case you want to say hi and tell me some of your story. For those of you who don't have a chance to connect in person, you can connect online. My website's harristhird.com. You can also do Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your thing is. I got off Snapchat a while back because I just felt like there was so much garbage on there about deception and how that works. And so I kind of ditched that. I just went straight to Instagram. So if you want to keep in touch, you can do that. I respond to all my direct messages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So please feel free to shoot me an email through the website or connect online. I will reply. I would love to hear some of your story and how you've been impacted, how God is moving in your life. But more importantly than any of that is how he might move in your life over the course of this next session. And as always, I want to get things started. I thought, if it's okay with you, by sharing with you some more magic. Is that okay? Can we show you some magic? Awesome. All right, I have brought with me a deck of cards again. There's no rubber bands. And I need one person, but there are qualifications. And you don't know what the qualifications are yet, which means you can't really raise your hand because you don't know if you meet those qualifications or not. Can you guys hear me back there? Yeah? All right, so as I just said, there are 2 qualifications in order to help out. You don't know if you meet those qualifications yet, all right? So you can't raise your hand until you know if you meet the qualifications. It's me just testing people. I love messing with people. So here are the 2 qualifications. They're actually really simple. They don't matter that much. One is you have to know the names of all the cards, right? We talked about that earlier. The second is you have to have a good, vivid imagination, all right? Now, this person does not have to come up on stage. They can stay right where they are, all right? You're just going to help out from out in the audience. I'm going to go with, the guy right there in the red hoodie. You're so chill and relaxed. I love that. Everyone else is going nuts. Stand up for me if you don't mind. What is your name? Alfred? Frankie. Close, right? Frankie, right now, I need you to let everyone know they're going to stay quiet so that I can hear you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your imagination? An 8? That's pretty good. All right. Frankie, it's right there on the line of whether I use these cards or not. I'm going to give this a shot, all right? Instead of using this deck of cards, I've got another deck of cards I carry with me everywhere I go. They're pretty cool. They're invisible. Can you see them here in my hands, Frankie? You can? All right, this is going to work great. All right, Frankie, I'm going to take the cards. I'm going to toss them out there to you. Nice catch. All right, I need you to mix those cards up, shuffle them up really well, all right? Frankie, helps if you take them out of the box first. All right, bro? There we go. All right, cool. Now, just need you to mix them up. Shuffle them up really well. Make sure they're not any sort of special order or anything like that. And then spread them out in front of your face like a fancy fan, like you might see a magician do or something. Frankie, I need you to choose one of those cards. Before you do, though, let me give you a tip. I didn't used to do this, and then people would come up to me afterwards, and people started saying things like, dude, that's so easy. I bet that works because everyone chooses that card. And what I began to realize is that if I didn't warn people, everyone was choosing really popular cards. And so if you choose the Queen of Spades or the King of something, the really high popular cards or an ace, everyone's like, well, everybody chooses that card. Another example, Frankie, would be a 3. You can choose a 3 if you really want to. I'm just saying it's a popular number. When people choose a 3, everyone's like, well, everybody chooses a 3. Choose a random card in the middle of the deck that you think that no one else would think of. Do not say the name of it out loud. Just find it in your deck and pull it out and memorize it. Show it to your friends so they know which one it is. One friend. We got to work on that, Frankie. All right. I'm messing with you, man. Right now, you're going to take that card. You're going to turn it upside down, put it back inside the deck face down. You're going to close the cards back up. I saw where you put it, so shuffle it up again so nobody has any idea where it is. You're going to throw the cards back up here to me after you put them back in the box first. Glad you did that fake throw. All right, cool. All right, there we go. It's mind-blowing stuff so far tonight, isn't it? All right, check this out. We're going to leave the world of Frankie's imagination. We're going to enter back into the world of reality with the same deck of cards we had just a moment ago. Frankie, some of them are already going there in their heads. This is where things get really weird. I've got the cards out on display. That way I can't cheat. Frankie, I'm going to have you name your card out loud just so he's committed and he can't cheat and in a moment claim, like, nope, that wasn't my card. Frankie, for the first time out loud, what was the card you turned over in your imagination?
8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds. That's not the card we talked about earlier in the hallway before the... I'm kidding. I say that to go ahead and bring it up and address that. Have we ever met before? Was this set up? Was this rigged? Did you have any idea that you'd be helping out here this evening? No, this was not set up or prearranged. Earlier, you said in your mind you turned over the 8 of diamonds. What I haven't told you guys yet is I was backstage earlier and I was practicing a different card trick. It's a new one I haven't done before. I was going through the deck one by one and there was one single card that stood out to me over and over again as I went through the cards. So I took that card out, I turned it upside down, I put it back inside this deck and I shuffled it. Frankie, how crazy would it be if the card I turned over in this real deck was the same one that you turned over in your mind? Pretty crazy. You turned over the 8 of diamonds. The one I turned over, well, let me just show you. I'm going to go through the entire deck just so you can see that out of all of these cards, there is a single card in the deck turned upside down. Frankie, the one you turned over was the 8 of diamonds. It's insane. It's the same one I turned over. The 8 of diamonds. Everybody give Frankie a big round of applause. Thanks, Frankie. Have a seat. Well done. Well done. All right. Any questions? How did I do that? Yeah. You see, that's how people respond to magicians in 2018. What's ironic is I've spent a lot of time reading both magic history books that magicians from like the turn of the century, like late 1800s, early 1900s, wrote to both the public and to other magicians, as well as books that have been published based on their writings and letters to each other, and even sometimes their personal journals and diaries. And what we discovered is that in the turn of the century, like almost a little over 100 years ago, people went to magic shows and they didn't respond by saying, how did you do that? How did you make the table fly? How did you know which card he was going to think of? They just simply came to magic shows and just went, wow, that was amazing. And what I've discovered is that there is, in fact, this correlation between how audiences watch magic tricks performed by magicians or illusionists and actually how we begin to view the world. So many times in our lives, we actually look at the world around us and someone says, isn't God amazing? Isn't it incredible how miraculous he is and how he's this powerful supernatural God? And we get all fired up because we come to an event like Future Quest and then we leave here and everything starts to sort of mellow out a little bit. And then we go back to our normal lives and everyone's like, yeah, remember how great God is? And you're like, yeah, but I wonder how he's going to do that. So you come to Future Quest and it's like, wow, God's awesome. And then we go out to our real lives and we're like, yeah, but how? I mean, how is it even possible that God would even exist? How is it that he's going to show up for all my problems? How is it that he could be greater than anything that I'm struggling with? And my hope over the next hour is to spend some time with you, showing you some more magic, but maybe helping you sort of expand your mind and your heart a little bit to begin to live with a wow perspective instead of a constant how perspective. And if we can, this will change everything because it has everything to do with wonder. The thing that magicians are primarily known for making people feel. But wonder for you is actually very uncomfortable. You see, the reason why you want to know the secret of how I just did that trick is because in 2018, you all have these, right? These little seemingly magical devices. And in the information age, these have given you access to the answer or secret to solve any mystery. If there is a mystery in your life or something that you're experiencing that you don't understand how it works, what do? Yeah, you Google it or you look it up on YouTube or Wikipedia, right? Which means, or Siri, is that what someone said? You're too lazy to even search. Hey Siri, look up Wikipedia. Yeah, she actually heard me. All right, so here's the deal. What I want you to begin to understand is that this device, not necessarily this one specifically, but living and growing up in an information age with the access to the answer to seemingly anything is actually beginning to rewire your brain. And to the point where mystery feels uncomfortable. Because if you don't understand how a trick works, you're like, whoa, I don't like this, because wonder is actually very equal to humility, to be in awe of something, to be in wonder of something, whether it's God or something that's blowing your mind in the world or a piece of art. It humbles you. For a moment, you feel like you're sort of in greatness. That's sort of the definition of to be in awe of something to begin with. And so because it's uncomfortable, our natural tendency is to reach for our phones and like look it up, right? And because that idea is so ingrained in our culture, you guys have actually been psychologically conditioned to not believe in almost anything that can't be explained with a Google search or a YouTube video. So it is no surprise why you or so many of your friends go, well, unless a YouTube video can sit down and explain to me the existence of God or solve all the mysteries of God, even though you may not have said that literally, I just don't know that that's something that I can place my faith in. And so, but if we begin to shift our perspective from having to understand the answer to everything and how everything works to just being able to live in the mysteries of God, I think we'll become more comfortable with wonder, and not just comfortable, but I think that you will actually begin to live a life that craves it and seeks it out. And I think that's very healthy because it's going to change the way that you worship your Creator. And so that's the idea I want to dive into tonight, but I know you guys want to see some more magic. So let's sort of set the tone here and show you guys something else. So, in the early 1900s, there was a place called Duke University. I guess it's still there. But back then, there was a guy there, I should say, by the name of Dr. J.B. Ryan. He began studying in a field known today as ESP. ESP. And does anybody here tonight know what ESP stands for? If you do, yell it out. That's good. In the South, where I live, I was in Alabama last week. Some dude in the back yelled out the Sports Channel, which was funny. That happens very often. But what was funny about that show in Alabama, dude yells out the Sports Channel, guy on the front row rolled his eyes, and I literally heard him say, "No, stupid, it's extra special powers. Duh." God bless the South. One of these guys said it loudest, extrasensory perception. ESP, extrasensory perception. In other words, maybe a sixth sense. Dr. J.B. Ryan at Duke University did a study to see if maybe some people had a sixth sense. Maybe they could actually do this sort of stuff. Like, we are skeptical towards all things that seem like they are supernatural because of the subject matter that I was just talking about. But he wondered, what if people actually had this ability? What if, like, this stuff that can make people awe and be in wonder actually existed? Maybe that would give them the ability to read someone's mind or predict their future if they had a sixth sense outside of our five senses, what we can see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. So what I want to do right now is an experiment, kind of similar to what Dr. J.B. Ryan might have done, to see if it actually exists. It'll serve as a powerful illusion for us and an illustration to talk about the stuff we want to talk about here tonight. So let's get someone from the audience up here on stage. Let's go with yeah, how about you right there? You got the glasses, I think, on your shirt. Yeah, come on down. Everybody clap for her. Give her a big round of applause. Come on up, come on up. Hi. How are you? Finally. Have you, like, waited for this moment your whole life?
Just like a couple hours.
A couple hours. Okay, so finally. You're not dramatic at all, are you? That's awesome. What's your name?
Julia.
Julia. Very nice to meet you, Julia. I'm Harris. You have some important choices to make. Are you ready to make those choices?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's see how it goes. All right, the first choice is very simple. I have two different colored dry erase markers. Sorry, they don't match. They're different brands. It doesn't matter. One is red, one is black. One is for you, one is for me. Tell me your name one more time.
Julia.
Julia, black or red? What do you think? Black. Actually, I was thinking the red one.
I was gonna get the red one.
I'm just kidding. You can take either one you want. It doesn't matter.
I'll take it.
Okay, all right. Now, it really doesn't matter which marker she took, but did you guys see what just happened? I know it's not a perfect example, but I told her that she had a completely free choice. And then all it took was just a little bit of social pressure. One, she didn't want to make the choice on her own. She wanted approval from you guys based on what you thought she should make. And then I just stepped in and said, actually, I was thinking the black one. She's like, okay, I'll take whichever one you want me to take. Now, that is a small version of influence. It's actually what's about to happen. It's the secret to this next trick. I sort of am giving away the secret to this trick, Julia, but it's okay because I think they'll still be amazed. And the people helping out, I think, will have a difficult time figuring out if they try, which they shouldn't, sort of like how this influence thing is actually happening and taking place. The other reason you're up here is to help me write on a dry erase board. Now, I use this with my kids back home. It's a weird looking one because it's divided up into 6 different sections. We have these little blocks. I'm going to be writing in these bottom 3 spots. They have these little magnetic panels. These are just to build the suspense up a little bit after I write what's on there to make this trick seem like a bigger deal. I'm going to let you help me hang on to those. You're going to be writing in these top 3 spots with your red marker. You're sort of like a record keeper to keep track of what people from the audience are about to say. The other reason you're up here is to help me pick 3 people from the audience. Now, before you guys go nuts, listen, please don't go crazy yet. These people do not have to come up on stage. You're going to stay right where you are. You're just going to stand up, all right? I'm going to tell her which section she is allowed to pick people from, and it is not this section yet. And we're going to start right over here. All right, now before you pick anyone, Julia, would you agree? Listen up, chill, people. I know there's no Netflix, but you still got to chill. All right, listen up. Have we ever met before? Did we set this up? I did not tell you who to pick before we started. The reason I'm letting you pick these people, not me, is to make it very clear this was not rigged or prearranged. From this section right here, it's okay if you don't know their name. Guy or a girl, which color shirt they're wearing, it doesn't matter. Describe which one. What do you think? Real quick, just pick one.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, that kid in the very black in the blue, like second left row. Yeah, you.
All right, cool. The guy wearing the hat? No, that. All right, you don't have to come on stage. You can stay right where you are. You don't have to come on stage. It's all right. Head back up. Head back up. All right. Well done. Well done. Stay standing for me. Really loud. You're way back in the back. I'm going to ask them to stay quiet so you and I can communicate. I'm barely going to be able to hear you. What is your name? That is correct. ESP, Joshua. Joshua, stand up. Stand up, bro. All right, Joshua, you're going to think of something really specific for me. You're going to think of, I need to give you a subject. Let's start with any animal. Any animal. This is important. Joshua, in a second, don't say one yet. In a moment, as you think of an animal, do not let me influence which animal you think of. You can think of any animal you want, okay? Do not let me influence your thoughts. You're not attached to a leash or anything like that, okay, Joshua? Feels like I'm barking orders at you right now, but I'm not, okay, man? You can think of any animal you want. It's a free choice. Think of an animal, concentrate on it, and then try to send your thoughts up here to me. Quietly, just send your thoughts up here to me. I'm going to make my first prediction right here, right now. Here we go.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Okay. I know exactly what he's going to say. Totally have this one. All right, little panel, please. I'm going to cover it up. I don't want you to see it yet. We'll save the suspense until the end just to make it more fun. It's more fun that way. Joshua, don't sit down, bro. Stay standing. What, really loud so everyone can hear you, what animal were you thinking of? I'm sorry. I had a hard time hearing you way up here. What animal were you thinking of?
White shark.
A great white shark. You didn't hear the music playing way up there? Okay, all right, everybody give Joshua a big round of applause. Thanks, Joshua. Now you can sit down, Joshua. You may be seated. Julia, I'll hold the board for you. Just right. You can just do shark if you want, or great white, whatever. All right.
Okay.
That did not work out very well. So let's try this again with the second person. We need to turn up the influence, I think. Okay, great white shark. All right, let's see. You came from that section. Let's do someone from this section right here. Real quick, just pick somebody.
I'll pick in the middle.
I just randomly say someone. Pick a shirt. Pick a shirt.
This is so hard.
Just choose. Pick a
Okay.
shirt. Which shirt is standing out to you?
The one in the very back, he has like red sleeves and then a gray. Yeah, you.
Yes. The one in the where? That's
See you standing.
you keep picking people so far away. It's so hard to talk to them. All right. What's your name? I'm sorry. They were being really rude. I couldn't. Whoa. I'm talking to him. Let him talk. What is it? Andrew. All right, Andrew. Andrew, you ready for this? He thought of an animal. Let's try a TV show. You ready? You watch TV? Sometimes? Okay. Make it a really popular one, okay? It's just something that you've heard of, all right? A popular TV show, do not let me influence your thoughts. You can think of any TV show you want. Just think of one, concentrate, and then try to send your thoughts up here to me, okay? Okay. I'm getting nothing. Do you have something in mind, Andrew? You got something? Are you thinking of something? Yes? Okay. Oh, man, I don't know about this one. Okay, I've made my prediction. Little panel, please. All right, really loud so everyone can hear you. Andrew, what TV show were you thinking of? The Simpsons? All right, everybody clap for Andrew, I guess. Simpsons. Okay, all right. You might just have to fast forward, move on to the next trick or something here in a second. Let's try this one last time. Choose someone who looks like they're a little bit easily influenced. Maybe someone closer to the front so we can communicate a little bit easier. Real quick.
The kid in the red long sleeve.
Kid in the red long sleeve. All right, right there. Stay standing. Never fails. If I get a girl on stage, they always pick 3 guys from the audience. That's amazing how that works. All right, what's your name? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What's your name? Jacob. All right, Jacob. Thank you. Jacob, as you can tell, every other volunteer so far has done an excellent job in not allowing me to influence their thoughts, all right? So please do the same, but we're gonna think of, you like music? Let's try a singer. Let's try a singer's name this time. Actually, we got one shot to make this impressive. Guys, listen up. We're gonna try to make this a little more specific. Let's do any girl singer, a female musician, okay? Think of a girl singer right now, concentrate on it, send your thoughts up here to me, okay? All right, here we go. No. Girl singer, girl. That was Justin Bieber. That is very funny, though, you guys. That is very funny. All right, I'll take the panel. I've made my prediction. Sorry, I understand the confusion. All right, you ready? Shh, listen up, listen. Y'all are rowdy tonight. I love it and hate it. All right. That was really funny. What girl singer were you thinking of? Taylor Swift from good old Nashville, Tennessee. Everyone give him a big round of applause. Taylor Swift. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm doing your job, Julia.
Oh.
It's all right. I don't have an eraser. Just right over this much. Or you can erase with your finger. That's cool. All right. Taylor Swift. Excellent job. Excellent job. All right, Julia, you did an excellent job so far. Stand right there next to the star. Next to the star. That's me.
Oh.
That's why that's a T. I'm just messing with you. Right now, you're kind of the star. The reason I need you nice and close is because it's time to recap. All right, it's a big moment. We're going to reveal the predictions, but before we do that, we need to recap.
What does that mean?
It means recap. Like recap.
Oh, recap. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Okay, all right. That was bad. And you guys applauded this afternoon for all the jokes, and now it's not happening. All right, put one hand here on this side of the board, one hand up here on the other side of the board. Let's recap for real, all right? You're going to play the role of Vanna White. Do you know who Vanna White is? Yeah, or something like that. All right. In a second, I'm going to take these panels off one by one. After I remove these panels, you just hold your hands on the side of the board, and you just do this nice little side-to-side motion so everyone in the entire room can see the predictions that I wrote. Got it? You're doing excellent, Julia. All right. Let's recap for real. We selected, and by we, I mean her, she selected 3 different people from the audience totally at random. There's no way this was set up or rigged or prearranged. You picked these people, not me, right? You and I, we've never even met before. The first person, way back there in the back, out of all the animals in the entire world, thought of a great white shark. Despite the music, a shark. That was okay, though. I knew he was thinking of a great white shark. Now, all right, second, way back there. I told you this one was going to be pretty easy. I told you it was easy. He wasn't thinking of Jeopardy. He was thinking The Simpsons. I knew he looked like the Simpsons kind of like viewer. But this is where things got complicated. We went down here to Jacob. Out of all the girl singers in the entire world, Jacob thought of more than one person. As soon as I said girl singer, Taylor Swift was one of the first names to pop into your mind. And then while you had some time, you started wondering and debating a little bit. I think you zeroed in on Taylor Swift pretty hard there, especially at the end. That's when it clicked for me. That's when I wrote it down. That's when I knew he was the Taylor Swift kind of guy. Let's give all 3 of our volunteers from the audience a big round of applause. And please keep that applause going for Julia, everybody. Julia, All right. So, ESP, extra sensory perception. Hey, here's the question. Is this real? All right, hold up. Remember, I am a illusionist. This is only an illusion, which means, is this real? Okay, all right. Now, some of you are just sort of like, I get it's messing with your heads. You're not sure what to think. For some of you, you're just like sort of just joking around. But I get it. For some of you, you're just like, no, yeah, I don't know. It sure seems real. Like there's no logical explanation for how you can know what they were thinking of. And so I just don't understand how. Well, again, it is just a trick. It is just illusion. I want to do that for you. First of all, to reinforce everything we talked about in the last session, it is easy to be deceived. And so often, we allow other things in the world around us, other people, other messages to influence the choices that we make. Many times we are completely unaware of the fact that someone even influencing us. And so, yes, it is easy for someone to influence the choices you make without you being aware that someone is influencing you. You must learn to do what the Bible recommends. God says, take your thoughts captive. He said, use discernment. He told us these things for a reason. Aware of the fact that people in this world would try to influence the way that you think and you live. Because how you think determines the choices that you make. Your choices form habits. Next thing you know, your entire life is on a path just by the things that you looked at or the stuff that you listened to or how you made your choices based on how someone influenced your feelings. Now, what about the people who actually claim to have these abilities? You've probably seen those TV shows like Psychics or Spirit Mediums from Long Island. There's always a little statement down at the bottom of the screen or sometimes in the credits. It's easy to miss. It's only required to be on the screen by law for 1.5 seconds. It usually says something like this: for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, you may have seen that. You know what that means? That's fake. It's not real. Before most of you in this room were even born, there was this famous spirit medium on television by the name of Jonathan Edwards. He had a TV show called Crossing Over, and it was before even DVD. We had to record his show on a VHS tape and a VCR, and so we did that one day because we didn't have DVR, and we would watch it back, and then one day I watched it back. I paused it at the very end of the show, and there in the credits were 3 paragraphs of text that I was supposed to read in about 3 seconds. It's impossible unless you recorded it and paused it. And on there, according to the producers of this show, the guy that, according to Americans, could communicate with spirits and passed away dead people, their producers were actually claiming this program has been produced for entertainment purposes only. None of the information on this program should be considered to be taken in factual statement in any way whatsoever. All of the information delivered to participants on this program was actually secretly obtained from third-party sources without their knowledge, and it was delivered back to them in a believable way. Again, this has been produced for entertainment purposes only. So in other words, hey, we got a bunch of information from the people that were participating in the TV show. We revealed it back to them in a believable, supernatural, seemingly way. They thought we were communicating with their passed away loved ones, and everyone in America thinks I'm supernatural, but in fact, I'm just deceiving people. This is why it's so important. These are just examples, but it's so important for you guys to begin to really use discernment, to really take your thoughts captive, and understand that while the supernatural is real, there are counterfeit versions of everything that is real. Like, if you want to experience community, which God meant and designed you to experience, community is needed. It is craved by your soul. But this world will offer you a counterfeit version of the real thing that God meant for you to experience. So next thing you know, we're like refreshing our Instagram feed, going, look how many followers I have now, how many Facebook friends we have. You think you're super plugged in because you know all these people and they all know you. And so you're living under the illusion of, wow, look at this community I have. When in fact, it's not real community. It's not real. It's not genuine. It's a counterfeit version of something that actually is real. And the reason why counterfeits are so convincing is because they seem real, right? Like, at the end of the day, I did not come here today to convince you guys that psychics were fake. If that's something that you did not know and you've learned today, that's awesome. I have a much, much more important question and reason for telling you this stuff. If the things that I've been doing for you seem real, and that many people confuse them to be real, but in fact, they are totally fake, is there even a small chance, humor me for a second, is there even a small chance that maybe there are some things going on in your life influencing the choices that you are making, forming your thoughts and your habits that may not be real, but are actually rooted in something that is fake? Look, you do not need to read a horoscope or like on Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram. You don't need to go talk to someone who's going to read your palm or look to the stars for their answers. You don't need to figure out your sign so you can figure out what the stars say about who you are, because you can have a relationship and a personal conversation with the very God who created those stars, and he can determine what your path and future looks like. And I can't predict your future. I cannot predict your future any more than you can, but together we get to create the future and decide what the rest of our world thinks about who God is by the way we live our lives and by the way we ditch counterfeits and embrace what is real. Okay? So let's take this a step further because I want to continue to break this down. I wish I had like a whole week with you guys to sort of explain all the different principles of deception. Some of this stuff is really simple in concept, really difficult to understand. But tonight I want to make sure I illustrated what I feel like is the biggest example of deception that I feel like is crushing and robbing your wonder and honestly plaguing the American church, if I'm really honest. So let's see, I got a girl last time. I need one more volunteer to help me out. And let's get a guy for this one. Go with... Third person for this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yes. All right. All right. I'm gonna go with. There's a dude back there in the back. You have like a dark colored t-shirt on. I think it says, "I love my church" with a heart on it. That's you. Yeah, come on down. Everybody clap for him. Give him a big round of applause. Come on, guys. Celebrate him. Clap for him. Encourage him. Clap for him as he comes up. Yeah, man. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. All right. How's it going? Good. What's your name? Jonathan or John? Jonah. Jonah. Very nice to meet you, Jonah. I'm Harris. Have a seat for me right there. I want you to be careful. Be comfortable. Jonah, we're going to play a little game together. Do you like games? Yeah. This is like a hand-eye coordination game. Are you involved in anything right now that involves hand-eye coordination?
Like sports?
Sure, anything. Yeah, hobbies? Singing? Doesn't involve a lot of hand-eye coordination. Piano does. All right, there you go. Found something. You watch TV? Yeah. All right, you got a remote control? A little hand-eye coordination? All right, so you got a little practice at this. All right, that's going to make my job a little easier, the fact that you're not like, you don't feel like you've mastered it, not involved in too much with hand-eye coordination. That's okay, though. There are no winners, no losers in this game. This is just for fun. All right, sit up nice and straight in your chair and just simply follow along. All you got to do, Jonah, is just do as I do, okay? Just do as I do. Here we go. It's good. I'm just kidding. I just want to see if you do that one. All right, a little closer, further out, down just a little bit, freeze, right, oh, back up just a little bit, freeze, right there. Don't move, don't move. All right, next up is very important, Jonah. I brought with me, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, a very high-tech testing device, okay? I'm going to attach it to your fingers. I'm going to use it to test your hand-eye coordination. Is that okay? All right, hang on. All right, very high-tech testing device. Hey, where I live in this country, in some places that is high-tech, okay? Sorry, man, this is how I roll. All right, here's what's gonna happen in just a second. He's gonna hold this nice, I think it's like, I cannot figure out your standard for humor here at Future Quest. You're gonna hold this nice and loose on your fingers so it spins easily. Here, I'm gonna take the paper off throughout the game. I'm sorry, Jonah, nothing against you, personal preference. My mom would have killed me, all right? There we go, there we go. Okay. There's a lot of OCD people who live here in El Cajon. I'm gonna take the paper off a little bit at a time. Here's how the game works. Jonah, I take this, I wire up into a little paper wad. I try to be sneaky so that you can't tell where it is. Hopefully you won't be able to tell which hand it's in. Now you got two options. That's my right hand, you know the difference, right, between my right and my left. All those people out there, they're gonna laugh. They're not gonna laugh at you. They're gonna be able to know where it is. Right now it's sticking out of my hand, they know which hand it's in. Can you see where it is from where you are? No? Just tune them out. It's just because they see it and you can't. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Guys, be cool. If you see the paper sticking out of my hand, if you can see which hand it's in, keep it a secret. Do not yell. Do not point. Do not give him any hints. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. This one is just for Jonah. It's going to be way more fun for everyone if this one is just for Jonah. All right, you ready, Jonah? All right, man, you're the lucky person. You're the one that gets to experience the magic. I promise I'm not trying to offend you. But a lot of people, if they get up in front of a big crowd like this, if that is not something they're used to, their mind freezes up a little bit because they get a little nervous and they forget the difference between the right and the left hand. Now that feels backwards because I'm facing you, right? And it feels opposite. So we're gonna make this first one really obvious, and then I'm gonna spin around so that it's the right direction. Which hand did I grab the paper with, the right or the left?
You're right.
This one here? Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was more obvious. This is the left hand. Don't worry, maybe you got confused. We'll take this right here, roll it up a little bit. We'll use the same piece, all right? Here we go. All right, Jonah, what do you think, right or left?
I'm thinking left.
You're thinking left? Is that the one you're choosing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
No.
not.
Kept in the right hand. That's all right. Check this out. I'll do that thing again. Ready? Watch. We'll take it a step further. Ready? Watch. Watch. Watch.
Oh,
I snap, I tap on my hand, I give it a little blow. Totally disappears. I know, it's amazing. Let's try it again. Where were you sitting? Were you sitting up there? Yeah? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, he's filming it. He's filming it. You're going to be able to figure this out. You'll watch the review later. All right, here we go. What do you think? Right or left?
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Watch, I'll do that thing again. Gone again. I know it's amazing. Here, we'll try it again. Ready, watch. I'll do it in slow motion. Slow motion. Ready? Here we go. Right or left?
I'm almost positive it's right.
All right, I'm going to give you one more shot. I'm trying to help you out.
Oh, so it's left?
No, it was right. Don't let me change your mind like that, right? You get to choose, all right? You get to choose. All right, so now that you know where it is, don't let me get you to influence your choices, all right? You choose, right or left. What do you think? Wild guess.
Ooh, wow. Okay. Left.
Left. Watch, 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 watch. It's going to happen. Gone. I know, it's amazing, right? All right, tell you what. I know, this is amazing. I'm starting to feel a little bad. You see them right there? They're like laughing, like totally amazed. Just ignore them, all right? Ignore them, just ignore them. All right, right here, Jonah. Right or left? What do you think?
Right.
Right. No one. Gone again. All right. I'll tell you what. I'm starting to feel a little bad. I'm going to let you in on a secret, okay? Not really a secret. Think of it more like a tip, all right? Let's try this again. Here's the tip. Keep your eyes right here on the paper. I'm doing this little thing called sleight of hand. Have you heard of sleight of hand? Yeah. All right. This is what sleight of hand looks like. All right. Looks like I take it, stick it there in my hand, right? Where does it look like it is? It looks like it's here, right? But it's actually here in my hand. This is what he's seeing from his angle. It looks like I take this and stick it there in my hand, but I'm not. Just doing this little secret move. A lot of you guys are wondering earlier, well, why didn't you have any friends when you were a little kid? It's because while everyone else was doing cool stuff, I was sitting on my bed in my bedroom playing with little tissues like this, trying to do this little secret move over and over again, all right? That was my child. That took me like 6 months to master when I was a kid. So I'm doing this little secret move over and over again, combined with this thing called palming and a little bit of distraction. Have you heard of palming? Okay, like when someone palms a basketball, have you heard of that? Obviously it involves our palms, in this case, my left palm. This time, keep your eyes glued to my left palm. I'm gonna do the same move again. Did you see the secret that time?
Yeah.
Was it more obvious than the first time?
Yeah.
The reason why is because I gave you a tip and I told you where to look. I was like, don't take your eyes off my palm. The reason why you caught it is because you didn't look away. Earlier, you looked away. I was like, hey, take this, move this down just a little bit. And did you see what your tendency was just now? Your tendency was to take your eyes off my hand and look down because I pointed at that. Earlier, I was like, hey, they're laughing. Hey, where were you sitting? You were sitting way over there. And every single time I pointed, do you remember what you did?
Look.
You looked, right? You took your eyes off my left palm. Boom, secret move happens, paper disappears. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna give you a practice round, Jonah. I'm not gonna make this disappear this time, okay? I'm doing nothing tricky this time, I promise. This is not going to disappear. I'm gonna use this to try to distract you. Let's see if you can do, let's just see how you do practicing keeping your eyes on my left palm, all right? Here we go, Jonah, left palm, left palm. Oh, you failed. All right, let's try again. It's all right, we'll try it again. Left hand, left hand, left hand, left hand. Okay, all right, now he's getting pretty good at this. All right, now that he knows part of the secret, let's be honest. I'm being honest with him. It's going to be a little bit harder to distract him this time. All right, you ready, Jonah? Here we go. Oh, almost forgot. Peripheral vision. You know what that is? Kind of like where you see something out of the corner of your eye, even though you're not looking that direction. Here's the deal. I'm going to hold this up nice and high this time because this is white, the roll is white. This is probably getting blended together, all right? So let's, oh, you also have white on your shirt. So I'm going to hold it up here. Let's get that out of your line of sight. Hold it up against your chest or something. That way it's not in your line of sight. All right, don't take your eyes off of it. Here we go. What do you think, Jonathan? Right or left? Oh, nice. They started laughing. They started laughing, and you caught on to something. All right, keep your eyes up here on my left hand. Keep holding that up there. Keep your eyes up here, though. All right, what do you think?
Your right hand?
It's up to you. You can guess. Right hand? Okay. Got another guess? left. I'm just kidding. That one's not there. It would have been good, though, huh? That would have been good. All right, turn it this way just a little bit. I know you're struggling with this, so Jonah, I'm going to make this last one really easy for you, all right? You're being a good sport, man. I really appreciate it. All right, Jonah. Which hand? What do you think? Right. Give it up for Jonah. You got one right. Hey! All right, man. I'm just messing with you. All right. Now, we're going to simplify here at the end. Jonah, right or left? That's pretty tough, right? It's always been in the other hand or it's been gone. Right or left is really hard. So instead of guessing right or left, we're just going to simplify here at the end. Instead of right or left, Jonah, is it still there? Yes or no? Now, would you agree? We all saw it in my hands earlier with our own eyes, right?
Yeah.
All right, it's got to still be there. Is it still there? Yes or no?
I think so.
I really want you to get this one right. Is that a yes or a no? Is it still there? Yes or no? No.
No.
Still there. I didn't know the other one, right? That would have been good, right? If it would have been gone. I'm going to let you cheat this time, Jonah. I'm going to let you squeeze my wrist. Squeeze my wrist. Do not take your eyes off the paper. Get rid of the roll of toilet paper. Sit on the floor. Don't take your eyes off my hands. Take your other hand, wrap it around my wrist. That way I can't move these hands around. Now, would you agree there's no point I can move my hands around to distract you? Is that true?
Yes.
Have you taken your eyes off my hands? No. And we all saw it. It was there. We saw it with our own eyes. Final answer. Is it still there? Yes or no? Yes. Remove your hands. Gone again. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Jonah. Clap for Jonah, everybody. Jonah, thanks for coming up, man. Appreciate your step. Don't trip, okay? Don't trip. Thank you. You can do the steps or you can, it doesn't matter. Hey, Jonah, bro, do not let your friends pick on you, okay? Dude, that was not your fault. Not your fault. The whole thing was over your head, okay? The whole thing was over. Hey, let's give Jonah another round of applause for being such a good sport. You're the man, Jonah. Dude, what just happened? Like listen, I knew which card he was thinking of before he knew which card he was going to think of, and then I supposedly read people's minds, even though I just influenced their choices, and people are like, what? There's no way. It messes with your head. And then people see this and they're like, well, why would anyone fall for that? It's so obvious, right? Even though I just used the exact same principles of deception that I use in all of the other tricks this afternoon and earlier tonight to try to trick you. And people see that other stuff and they're like, there's no way. And they see this and it just seems so simple. This is something that magicians and illusionists call misdirection. It's one of the primary principles of not just magic tricks, but the art of influence and deception in general. How many of you guys have at least heard that word, misdirection? It sounds self-explanatory, right? Like, psst, hey, look over there, right? It might seem that simple, but believe it or not, I'm not making this up. Out of all the illusions that I have performed for you here at Future Quest, this one so far is the most difficult. It took the longest to master because there's so many different principles at play. Primarily, misdirection involves suggestion, psychological conditioning, doing everything in your power to control the person, to influence the person that you're trying to misdirect so that they are focused and invested on what you want them to be focused on, just so that they miss something going on around them that you don't want them to see, right? Now, I understand it's easy to point and laugh. I mean, he's sitting here, he's paying really close attention, and the whole time I'm just tossing the paper wedge right over his head. And you guys are all pointing and laughing, going, how is he missing that? It is right in front of his face. But even though it's easy to point and laugh, I've done this trick. Jonah, you're off the hook. I've done this trick over 1,000 times for almost 15 years. I've done it for kids, teenagers, adults, seniors. I've done it for rooms full of doctors and rooms that were filled with only attorneys. I've done it in rooms full of all people who only had PhDs. Not too long ago, the room full of people who all had PhDs, the guy who sat in the chair where Jonah sat, worked for NASA. It works every single time. So it might be easy for you guys to sit out there and point and laugh, But trust me, if you're the one in the hot seat, if you're the one up here being misdirected by someone who has devoted their entire lives to studying and learning how to misdirect and deceive you, it's a little bit harder to figure out what's going on. And the reason why I love showing this to you is because every single day, this is so close to reality. It's exactly what's taking place. Those thousands of messages are coming along, trying to crush your wonder and replace what is real with something that is counterfeit, and then get you to focus and waste your entire life on that counterfeit thing. Like, hey, just drive this. That's what the world says. Just wear this. Just buy this. Just do this, and it will give you life. But does it give us life? No, of course not. Like, you guys, this marketing sort of sinks in. It begins to shape your identity, create this void, and you go to the mall and you buy that new shiny thing, and you think it's going to make you feel awesome, and you put it on. The first time you wear it, you're just like, it feels so good because it's got the right brand or it's the right trend. And then what happens? Sometimes it's only days. Sometimes it's not even a day. Sometimes it's by the end of the day. And that feeling that new thing gave you starts to wear off. It's because it was like a mirage in the desert, and your soul is thirsty. The reason why your soul is thirsty is because I believe that you were created by God with a soul to crave the things that he created to quench your thirst, right? So again, it goes back to the thing I said about community. You were meant to experience, your soul is craving community. If you settle for a counterfeit version of community, it's never going to quench your soul, which is why you keep turning back to it over and over and over again. The same is true for love and for meaning and purpose and joy. The world comes along and says, just do this or buy this. It'll make you happy. And we go, okay, it's going to make me popular too, right? And we do that thing, we buy that thing, it makes us happy for a short period of time, but it's a counterfeit of the real joy that God created you to experience. And so a little bit of time goes by, and all of a sudden you're beginning to be thirsty again. But Jesus, when Jesus was here, he said, hey, I am living water. And if you just come drink of me, you will never be thirsty again. So let me ask a question. What if, listen. What if, just humor me for a second. What if, regardless of where you are spiritually, whether you have faith or no faith or a little bit of faith or a lot of faith, or you're here because you wanted to be here, you're here because you're against your will, someone made you came, just humor me just for a second. Let's just ask the question. What if there was this incredible plan that God has for your life, but right now you are missing out on that life simply because you're a little bit too focused in the stuff that something in this world is telling you to look at. And in the process of getting tricked into focusing on what you were told to focus on, you miss out on the fact that there's something else going on around you, and it remains unseen. What if true, meaningful life is being stolen from you just because you're too focused on the things that you can see? And you forget about the fact that there's an unseen spiritual world going on all around you. But some of you don't believe in that world because, well, you just can't see it. Part of the reason I love being a magician is it has taught me, once again, things are not always as they seem, and that just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, here's a question for you. When Jonah was sitting in this chair, did he have access to the truth? Yes or no? Yeah, Jonah, did I tie you down to this chair? Were you handcuffed? No, right? So any single person that sits in this chair, they all have the capacity to just go, I wonder. Instead of just going, I'm just going to be apathetic, I'm just going to kind of go flow through the motions, I'm just going to do whatever this weird magician dude keeps telling me. He's like, look over there, okay, all right, look down here, okay. But instead of doing that, I'm like, I wonder if there's more going on around me than I can currently see. And I would never stop them. All they have to do is just turn around or just get up and look, and they would discover that there was truth right there waiting to be discovered. You see, the problem is not that there is no truth, it's that we get so busy being distracted because we are so busy being entertained and going through the motions and letting everything else in the world do our thinking and our persuading for us that we don't take the time to get up and go search for it. If we were to search for the truth, we will discover it. The truth can set us free. Now, just so you know, I'm not making these words up as well. Actually, I want to read this for you. If you have a Bible, pull it out. I want you to actually turn this. So you know I'm not making this up. If you don't, it's okay. I'm going to read it to you. We're going to look at a verse in the book of 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. For those of you who have a Bible app on your phone, that is awesome. If you do not have the Bible, a copy of a Bible, but you have a phone, you can have a copy of the Bible on your phone. It's pretty awesome, and you can just search for things really quickly. If you hear a verse, you can search for that phrase, and it'll look it right up. It's pretty great. So for now, you can download that later. For now, if you don't have a Bible, listen to these words. This is in 2 Corinthians at the end of chapter 4. Now, Corinthians, there's two of them in the Bible, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. They're actually letters that we have recorded that were written by a guy named Paul to a church in a city called Corinth. And we're going to read part of the second letter they wrote. Now, a little bit of context for you guys. Paul is basically like a former terrorist, right? Like Paul is a guy who took a lot of pleasure in early Christians being persecuted, stoned, sometimes even killed. So if someone is like stoning a Christian, imagine Paul was potentially the guy kind of standing off to the side with his arms crossed, kind of in charge going, yeah, man, you get him, right? So this former terrorist who found joy and pleasure in other Christians being persecuted is on this road to a place called Damascus. It's kind of famous in the Bible. In the church, we call it the road to Damascus. He comes face to face with the creator of the world. He meets God on his trip on the road to Damascus, and he is converted, right? He becomes a follower of Jesus, even though Jesus had already died on the cross for Paul's sins and risen from the dead. Is at that moment that Paul becomes converted and believes that that event actually took place, places his faith in Christ, and becomes one of the first and one of the most famous missionaries of the early church. Now, when he's writing these letters, this is cool because we're not going to get there, but in the next chapter, in chapter 5, after we read this part, Paul writes this really famous phrase. He says, hey, don't live your life by what you see. He said, live by faith, not by sight. Yeah, now think about that. The guy who said, walk by faith, not by sight, when he became a follower of Christ on the road to Damascus, when he saw God, he was blind for 3 days. The first 3 days of Paul's faith in Christ, he literally had to walk by faith instead of by what he could see. The reason I love mentioning that is it gives this really cool perspective of Paul, because Paul writes a lot of scripture about how we're to live our life by what we see, and as a magician who tricks people's eyes, that has always fascinated me. All right, enough context. So Paul's writing to this place in Corinth. It's a church. They're struggling. They're having difficulties. Everything's a mess, and he's like trying to send them a letter of encouragement going, this is how I'm instructing you. And then he says this at the end of chapter 4, verse 18. Some of you guys will have this verse memorized. Therefore, we look not to the things, or some of your Bibles might say, therefore, we fix our eyes not on the things that are what? Seen, but the things that are unseen. All right, let's pause right there for a second. Now look up here at me. Fix your eyes not on the things that are seen, but on what is unseen. For every single magic trick that I perform on stage, there are two parts. The part that you see and the part that I am trying to hide. The part that I'm trying to keep unseen. That means my job as an illusionist is as simple as employing the art of misdirection, to shift your eyes away from what I don't want you to see and to get you fully focused and invested on what I want you to see. It's almost like even 2,000 years ago, Paul realized how easy it is for us to be misdirected. And so he had to tell people, hey, don't focus on the stuff that you can see. Do not fix your eyes on what you can see. Fix your eyes on what is unseen. There is this unseen world going on all around you. It is spiritual. You may not be aware of it. You may not be able to see it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so you're supposed to focus on that world. Now, that may not make sense until Paul labels those two things, what is seen is unseen, so that we would understand why. All right, let's go back to the Bible. Therefore, we fix our eyes not on the things that are seen, but the things that are unseen, because the things that are seen are, temporary or transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal or forever. I don't know about you, but I know for me, there's so many times in my life that I miss out on the perspective of eternity and a spiritual unseen world because the world goes, look at this, and I fix my eyes on the things that I can see. And the next thing you know, I'm so focused on the things that I can see, my temporary moments and problems and pain and suffering and the physical stuff that's someday going to all pass away. I get so wrapped up in those things, I forget about the unseen world going on around me. Next thing you know, I'm not concerned about eternity. I'm concerned about this thing that isn't even going to last forever. And I waste my entire life away on it. Now, let's read this whole passage in context, because these are beautiful words. So if you're here tonight and you're like, bro, I'm just trying to get through the day. You don't understand what's going on in my life. I got some family issues. I've got some health problems. Someone that I love and care about in my family is really, you just don't understand. I'm struggling right now. Paul wrote these words for you too. Listen to this. These are beautiful words. Starting in verse 16, he says, so we do not lose heart. He says, though our outer self is wasting away, inwardly we are being renewed day by day. And then he says, for this light and momentary affliction It is preparing us for an eternal glory beyond all comparison. And then he says, therefore, in other words, because of that, we do not fix our eyes on the things that are seen. We fix our eyes on what is unseen, because what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Now, it took me a long time to figure this out. And again, I told you the story this morning of getting a magic set for Christmas from my grandmother, and how that box of magic tricks ended up changing my life. But you know what's interesting is people in our session earlier, I talked to a few kids after my Q&A thing, and one of their questions was like, but where did you go from there to learn more magic? And thankfully, I had a chance to grow up in the church. But ironically, even though I grew up in church, hearing these kind of words, being reminded of the fact that there's a spiritual world going on around us, being reminded of the fact that I was created for eternity, it was easy for me to forget. And I would say I would argue that it's not even that I forgot, it's that somewhere along the way, I took my eyes off the truth and what was really important and allowed this world to misdirect my focus and lead me to waste away a section of my life because I was focused on what I could see. And magic, ironically, is the thing that got me back there. So, you know, when I got that magic set for Christmas when I was 9, it took me a couple years until I finally got paid to do my first real show. But imagine you're growing up in a small town. Where am I going to learn how to do magic tricks in a town of literally 200 people? Well, the next year I turned 10. I'd learned all the magic tricks in my little magic kit box. I turned 10, and a magician appears in my church. Not like puff of smoke appears. Sorry, I should phrase that differently. This dude just starts showing up, right? And he does magic tricks for all the little kids. He wasn't a professional. He was an amateur magician. It was his hobby, and he loved doing magic for the kids at church. And I begged this guy. I'm like, you have to become my first mentor. He taught me this my first real professional trick. It was with a piece of rope. It did all sorts of magical things. And then eventually you would have 2 more pieces of rope. So you had like 3 pieces. It was a short piece, a medium piece, and a long piece. It was a classic of magic where it was like they just melted and stretched to the exact same length. It was such a classic illusion that it became my featured illusion in my very first paid magic show. I was 11 years old. I got paid $25. I thought from that moment, I'm going to do magic for the rest of my life. My second magic show wasn't even in Tennessee where I grew up. It was all the way up in St. Louis, Missouri. My grandma, who bought me the magic set, she was my second paying client. She booked me to travel all the way to Missouri to perform for a group of her friends from church and her at her house. And I went back to Tennessee and told all my cousins, I was like, hey, listen, I'm already a professional entertainer being paid to travel out of state and do magic shows. I remember I gathered those old ladies around after that show, and I was like, hey, ladies, listen, you thought that stuff was cool? I get it. Like that rope trick, amazing. But someday, I'm going to be like the great Harry Houdini. I'm going to learn how to make people disappear and reappear, cut them in half, put them back together again. And I remember these ladies, they just smiled and said, that's awesome. You go do that. So I went to go do that. I went back to Tennessee to create a magic show unlike anything the world has ever seen so I could take it and tour it around the world. And even though I went back to Tennessee to start doing that, my grandma, she never got to see that show. She got sick with cancer pretty unexpectedly and passed away shortly thereafter. And I remember during the time that she was getting sick very quickly, we would go visit her in St. Louis. We were taking trips pretty regularly. And the place that she was staying, I would sit on this old trunk that was at the foot of her bed. And she would tell me stories about her life. And she always remember in our conversation, she would always ask me, Harris, what kind of magic tricks are you working on? And I don't remember exactly what I told her. I just remember it was always something huge, like I'm going to make the Statue of Liberty disappear like David Copperfield or something like that. And she would always smile. And I remember her smiling and saying, Harris, my favorite magic tricks aren't those big, huge illusions like I see on TV. It's when you do that simple stuff with sleight of hand and ordinary objects, like with a deck of cards or a coin or a piece of rope. And I think that's why that rope trick was her favorite. Well, I told you all that to tell you this. I took that rope trick out of my show not long after I performed at my grandma's house when I was a little kid. And earlier, I was going through my case back there. Usually when I go places, I only do 1 session. Here I'm doing 2. And so I was just going through my case to see what else I had in there. And I saw those ropes. We put them in here for a film that we made a few years ago. And I still carry around. I don't do this very often, maybe literally half a dozen times a year out of 100 shows. It's not that often. But I thought maybe tonight, here at Future Quest, for fun, I might show you what I worked so hard on as a little kid. Is that okay? Would you guys like to see it? Okay. All right. Really glad you said yes. Let's be honest, I was going to do it anyway, and that would have been really awkward, right? So sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. And if it's okay with you, this one is also for my grandma.
Come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry. You don't know how lovely you are. I had to find you, tell you I need you, tell you I set you apart. Tell me your secrets, ask me your questions. Oh, let's go back to the start. Running in circles, calling tales, heads on the sides apart. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. Oh, take me back to the start. I was just guessing numbers and figures, questions of science, science and progress. What speakers last in my heart.
No, that's you. Yeah, right there. Come on. Okay, stay right here. I just need you to inspect it, stretch it, make sure it doesn't like move or anything like that. Is it real? It's real, right? All right, cool. Check that one out. Make sure it doesn't disconnect or anything like that. Does it look good? It's just a real piece of rope. Okay, check that one out. Doesn't like stretch or anything. All right. Thank you very much. You can go back to your seat. Bye.
Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. I'm going back to the start.
Well, let's see, yeah. Thank you guys so much. That really was my grandmother's favorite piece of magic, and magic really has changed my life. But what is, thank you. What is magic really, anyway? Is it reading someone's mind or knowing which card they're going to think of before they knew which card they were going to think of? Like, no, of course not. Like, this is just a trick. That thing that you felt, that little glimpse of childlike wonder that some of you felt while you watched me perform the trick that I tried to master as an 11-year-old boy, that feeling of wonder, that was magic. Look, I began my time with you this afternoon, coming in from Nashville and asking you all to do something super weird. I asked you to all do this with your hands. And then eventually there's a part where I got my thumbs to turn up like this, and everyone in the audience, most of you struggled, and you couldn't figure out how to get your thumbs turned up. And then as soon as that happened, you guys may not remember this, but everyone in the room, most of you started giggling like a little kid. And it wasn't because I told a joke. It was because in that moment, you felt it. You felt childlike wonder. You turned into a little kid for just a moment before you got embarrassed and were like, oh, I'm not being cool right now. I'm not supposed to be impressed by magic. And that table started sliding across the floor, and especially when it started levitating up in the air, you were watching a trick. That wasn't magic. But that wonder that you felt, the awe that started welling up inside of you, that was magic. You see, it's amazing to me that doing things like this, making people wonder, is the thing that allowed me to experience the wonders of the world. Traveling on the world, look, I've seen a lot of the wonders. I've walked the Great Wall of China, stood at the edge of Iguazu Falls in Brazil, stood at the edge of Niagara Falls, I've stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon. I've done all sorts of cool stuff in Alaska and Hawaii, and I've eaten some incredible food around the world. I've seen the Taj Mahal, I've seen the pyramids in Egypt 3 times on tours in the Middle East. And look, the first time I saw the pyramids, I was like, wow. I mean, it was amazing. I was in awe. I was like, this is incredible. The second time I saw the pyramids, it was a little bit less like, wow, and more of how. Yeah, how did they do that? I wonder how they built those pyramids. It's because, well, I'd been there. I'd done that. I'd seen that thing. And there wasn't really as much magic left. And all that was left was for my mind to sort of process and figure out the mechanics of how something like that might work. The third time I saw the pyramids, the magic was gone. It was like, oh, yeah, it's just the pyramids. It's just the pyramids. So I went from being this little kid. I brought a picture with me from my very first magic show when I was 11 years old. I know, right? That's enough of that. Why are you guys clapping for that? That's crazy. So I went from being that little kid to traveling around the world, seeing the wonders of the world because of my ability to, or I guess my willingness to do these crazy things, like jump in tanks of water wearing straitjackets and chains and handcuffs and stuff, and walking across broken shards of glass and burning hot coals barefoot. Doing stuff like this, like a fire-breathing act, or eating fire, where you like blow a giant ball of fire out of your mouth. So I made people wonder, doing feats of wonder, and they allowed me to experience the wonders of the world. Well, 4th of July, about 4 years ago, I was doing a fire-breathing act. I made a really stupid mistake, and this happened. Those are second-degree burns all over my face and mouth. And I set myself on fire, my face on fire, for about 8 seconds. And that was enough to obviously have a couple weeks of no shows while I healed up, laying on my couch. And while I laid on my couch, I started asking myself, Harris, why do you do this stuff? Why do you jump in tanks of wearing straitjackets? Why would you walk across broken glass barefoot? Why would you breathe fire out of your mouth? And I'd forgotten. I was ready to hang up the proverbial top hat because I'd forgotten why I did magic. I'd forgotten what magic was. I became so busy traveling around the world, exposing what was fake, that somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what was real. I got distracted. I took my eyes off the truth, and I just started going through the motions. And next thing you know, I became fake. I was living an illusion, and I settled for the counterfeit versions of life offered to me by the world. And I was so apathetic and so cynical that I was ready to quit magic. I'd forgotten the look on my mom and dad's face when I took that little red ball and I put it inside that cup and covered it up with the lid, and it disappeared. And then I put it back on. And when their eyes lit up with wonder when I was 9 years old, that was the first time that someone else in my life in that moment had looked at me with a look of awe and wonder in response to something that I had done. In that moment, I thought I might do magic for the rest of my life. But here I was, 30 years old. I'd been burned, literally and figuratively, and I was ready to quit. Well, thankfully, around that same time, this had happened. Here's a picture of my wife, Kate, right after she gave birth to my son, Jude. Thank you. Jude looked closer to this at the time that I set my face on fire, this next photo. I know, right? Here's a picture of what Jude looks like, really excited. Here's a picture of Jude taking a selfie by the pool in Vegas after a show, true story. When Jude was about 2 years old, he looked like that. And when he was 2 years old, this little girl came along. Her name was Everly Nariah, which means lamp of God. And she is. And so this is my whole family in Nashville. And when Jude was about 6 months old, rolling around on the carpet in my living room, I was laying on the couch, whining about how bad my face hurt. And I was ready to quit magic, and I looked down at baby Jude, and he had this little sparkle in his eye because he saw magic everywhere. He started growing up. We did things that, like the pyramids, I had been there and done that. Stuff I'd done thousands of times, like, I don't know, blow bubbles. We'd sit on my back deck, and I'd blow bubbles, and to me, they were just bubbles. But I would look at Jude, and I realized Jude wasn't seeing bubbles. Jude was seeing magic. And that's when I began to realize it's ironic that people like you call people like me magicians, when what we do on stage are just tricks. But magic, my friends, is real. You see, when we read the Genesis account of God creating things, it says God made this. And then he looked at it, and he's like, that's good. He made all of creation, the trees and the water and the oceans and the sand, the beaches. And he looked at it all and was like, that's good too. He made animals, got super creative, looked at the animals and was like, that's good. And then he made you and he made me in his image. And he looked at us and he said, now that's really good. And now we've been here for a while and we look out at things like sunsets or man-made pyramids or a canyon in Arizona. And we awe and we're like, it's incredible, it's magical. We look at things and label it as magic. The stuff that God looked at and called good, when he looked at us and said, that's really good. Imagine how much more magic is inside of you. These are just tricks. Again, magic is real. Now that my kids are growing up, Jude is 4.5, Everly is 3, and now we get packages in the mail from places like Amazon. Anyone else's family order way too much stuff from Amazon? Yeah. Look, most of the time it is boring stuff like paper towels, toilet paper. I don't know if you guys can tell, we go through a lot of toilet paper. Sometimes it's something exciting, like I'll save up for a fancy new gadget, like a camera lens or something like that, some kind of hobby that I'm interested in. I get the little notification on my phone, packages arrived by Amazon. I run to the door. I slam the door after I had the package in my hand. I spin around. I'm like, Jude, Everly, come downstairs. You got to see this. It's awesome. They come running down the stairs. What is it, Dad? I rip open the box. I pull out the thing I'm excited about, and I go, look. And what do they care about? The box. You see, I see a piece of garbage, but listen. To a little kid who is still using their imagination to dream and create the way that God intended, they see possibility. They see a rocket ship or a train or a car. You see, when I pulled out a deck of cards and said, hey, these are invisible. You guys looked at me like I was insane and out of my minds. He was a great sport. It was Frankie, right? Yeah, you see, Frankie was a good sport. I tossed him an invisible deck, and he was a good sport. He started playing along, and he's like, oh, funny, Mr. Magician. Like, oh, yep, forgot to take him out of the box first. That's right. And they took him out of the box. And he's like, he played along, but it was uncomfortable, right? You're like, I'm practically a grown-up. Like, I'm cool, and I'm playing with an invisible deck of cards because a magician told me to, right? Like, that's weird. But the reason why that felt uncomfortable is because you guys are trying so hard to grow up, and wonder has been so crushed that your childlike imagination, it's not like it's gone. you've just started misusing it. You see, every single day you worry and fear. You're going to leave here and worry and fear about all the potential things that could possibly go wrong, even though there's no evidence to show you that those things are going to happen. Worry is a misuse of your imagination, and your imagination was meant for so much more. We do things sometimes that feel childish, and yes, we're supposed to put away childish things, but my friends, there's a big difference between what is childish and childlike. And my hope is that you guys begin to develop a more childlike faith so that you can believe and invest in things that are eternal. Otherwise, you'll sit and go through the motions and go, eternity, who could believe in such a childish thing like that? That you would begin to believe that God is capable of the miraculous, that you are saved by a supernatural God, and that his Spirit is living inside of you, and that anything is possible, and that magic is real. So no, none of the stuff you saw me do on stage over the course of today was real. These are just tricks. But magic is real. And childlike wonder can be reawakened. And so I'm going to perform one last illusion for you guys before the band comes. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is the cheesiest trick of my entire repertoire. There's a reason why I'm doing it for you, though. It is representative of the very first real magic that I ever experienced. And my hope is that by showing it to you, maybe we can tap back into and reawaken a little bit of childlike wonder in you. And that might give birth to a little bit of childlike faith. And you'll begin to use your imagination the way that God intended, instead of misusing it to worry and fear about all the horrible stuff that could go wrong. That you'd begin to look at God with an attitude of wow instead of how. And that everything for you might change. And the things that you might have a tendency to label childish might again begin to feel childlike. When I was a little kid, the very first magic I ever experienced was the magic of seeing snow. How many of you guys have seen snow here in Southern California? Okay. How many of you guys saw it somewhere else before you came to Southern California? All right. Is anyone here annoyed by snow, or has ever been annoyed by snow based on where you lived previously? Yeah? Okay. All right. Look, in Tennessee, where I live now, everyone gets annoyed by snow when it snows, right? Because we don't know what to do. Everyone's like, snowing, and nobody goes to work. The school's shut down. The kids love it, but all the adults are like, oh, great, snow. We can't get anywhere. We got to rush to the grocery store and buy milk and eggs and bread. And it's really freaking cold, right? So get this. For the first 5 years of my life, I never get to experience snow. I see snow on TV and in the movies, and in the Christmas movies, it always snows on Christmas. And so as a naive little 5-year-old, I was sort of like programmed to think, oh, it's supposed to snow on Christmas. So I'm 5. I grasped the concept of snow, and I'm like, white Christmas. So it's Christmas Eve. I'm down on my knees next to my bed, and I'm praying, God, please let it snow. Please let us have a white Christmas. Remember, I'm 5. Anything's possible. I wake up. I realize it's Christmas morning. I jump out of bed. I run down the house. I run down the stairs. I run down the hallway. I bust through the front door. I swing it open to look outside. And guess what? There was no snow. I didn't understand. I went back inside, started asking my mom questions. I was like, hey, Mama, it's Christmas, right? She goes, yeah, baby, it's Christmas. Why? I was like, how come there's no snow outside? What's a white Christmas? She later on explained to me, like, oh, she thought it was cute that the Christmas movies tricked me into thinking that it was supposed to snow on Christmas. But she decided, you know what, maybe we should go visit Grandma and Grandpa's house next year in St. Louis, where it snowed a lot of Christmases. You see, it had snowed twice in the first 5 years of my life. We just happened to be further south visiting other family, and we had missed it. Usually, my grandparents came south to Tennessee for Christmas. That year, we decided we were going to go visit them in St. Louis, and I was so excited because in St. Louis, it snows a lot of Christmases. And I was so excited to get there. I don't remember what day we got there, December 21st, 22nd, something like that. All I remember is that when we got there was no snow. But the weather report said it was coming on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve morning comes. I open my eyes. I'm like, it's Christmas Eve. I jump out of bed. I run down the hallway of my grandma's house. I burst through the front door again to look outside. And there is still no snow. I did not give up hope, right? That night, I'm only 6 years old. I go back to my bedroom again. It wasn't my bedroom. It was the bedroom that I was staying in at my grandma's house. At first, I kneel down next to my bed, and I'm like, I remember getting up. I don't know why. I got up, and I went over next to the window. I remember kneeling down on my knees next to the window, clasping my hands, looking, putting my little elbows up on the windowsill, clasping my hands, looking up at the stars in the sky. The only reason I remember this is there was this creepy bush that just looked just like a person right outside the window that scared the crap out of me. But I remember I was looking past that bush up at the stars. God, please, please, please let it snow. Please let us have a white Christmas. I must have fallen asleep praying next to the window that night. The next morning, there was a knock on my door. It was my mom. She came over and said, Harris, wake up. I woke up. She said, look outside. I pulled back the curtain. I looked outside. I couldn't believe it. Finally, it was snowing. I jumped up. I was like, it's snowing. I jumped up. I ran down the hallway. I was getting ready to like shove the door open. I still remember like a home video in my head. I stopped. I paused. I took a really deep breath. I opened the door slowly. I looked out. Man, it was everywhere. I ran out in the front yard. I picked as much of that snow up as I could off the ground in my hands and my arms. I threw it as high in the air as I could up in the sky. I put my arms out. I spun around and I laughed and I cried. And I realized I wasn't dressed yet. I had some pajamas on, but I had bare feet. Adrenaline was pumping because I was so excited. It took me a little while to learn what you smart people already know. Snow is really cold. Again, it doesn't mean much to us now, right? I mean, you guys are all like big kids. You're like all grown up and cool. It's just snow. But I'm telling you guys, listen. In the mind of a 6-year-old boy, that was real magic. Of course, I had to go back to Tennessee where it actually wouldn't snow for a few more years, but I never stopped. Listen, I never stopped reliving that experience of seeing snow. I would go into the kitchen while my mom was cooking dinner. I would pick up these little paper napkins off the shelf, and I would fold them up and rip them into tiny little pieces and throw them up in the air. There was a paper mess all over my house, but it was my way of reliving the miracle of snow. And in that tiny little house in the foothills of Tennessee, this is what I would do for my mom. That's, really? That is not the response I got out of her. She was not that impressed. It was just a paper snowflake made out of a napkin. But in that moment, my mom pulled up a chair at the kitchen table next to me, and she taught me what I think might be the first lesson that I remember learning from my childhood. And it's one of the things I want to close with here tonight. My mom taught me what made snow filled with so much real magic. Part of it has to do with the snowflakes themselves. She taught me that snowflakes were unique. It sounds cliche because we've all heard it before, right? Later on in school, I remember one day we went into this really cold room and we got to look at snowflakes under a microscope, and they were beautiful, but we were taught that no two snowflakes would ever fall out of the sky that would be exactly the same because every snowflake is perfectly unique. But the beauty, let's be honest, the magic of snow, it's not when you walk outside and see one little perfect, beautiful, unique snowflake fall down in the distance. It's when you walk out and you see all these unique snowflakes combining their beauty together, creating that orchestra of magic, covering the trees and making that blanket on the ground that stops even the most cynical heart sometimes in their tracks and awakens them to that childlike wonder. And the same thing that's true of snow, my mom taught me, was the same thing that's true in you of me. That's what makes our lives filled with so much real magic. Of course we're like snow. Of course we're unique. But the reason why that sounds cliche and cheesy is because our culture celebrates our outward appearance. We get so tied up in the fact that we all look so different, right? Of course you have different hair colors and skin colors and eye colors. We were created by a creative God. But what makes your life filled with magic is not your outward appearance, but the unique purpose and the talents and abilities that He equipped you with to live that purpose out. Listen, that is your purpose that no one else on this earth can live out for you. And I don't care if you're here today as a student or an adult. I don't care how old you are. If you are here still breathing in this moment, there is still purpose and magic for you to experience. But The magic of your life is not going to be found during the times that you sit on a couch flipping through TV channels. It's not found during the times you sit on a bed in your bedroom playing video games. Magic is not found by me when I'm distracted by this device answering messages from work. When the real magic is playing at my feet on my living room floor. It's when we put away the distractions. It's when we celebrate our uniqueness. It's when we stop poking fun at all the differences of others and celebrate the thing that makes them unique. It's when we combine our purposes together and work together as God's church. That's when real magic starts to happen. When I was a little kid, I knew that real snow was made out of water and that real snowflakes were much smaller than this one. Getting bullied and picked on, sometimes it made me feel very small. People told me I was weird. One day I discovered the truth. They were right. I am super weird. But I'm also unique. And God gave me these unique talents and abilities. And if I took these talents and abilities that God gave me and used them to honor and glorify the God who created me instead of myself, well, if I could do that, listen, if you could do that, if we could all leave Future Quest and do that together, real magic might start to happen. Wonder would be reawakened across our land, and people would begin to develop a childlike faith in a God with whom anything is possible. Watch. All right. Have you guys had fun today? Yes? I've had an absolute blast hanging out with you guys. As you can tell, the band is back on stage, so listen up. In a moment, we're going to roll into worship. But for now, amidst all the excitement, will you guys just bow your head and close your eyes with me for just a moment? I just want to invite you to bow your head and close your eyes. And I want to stay in this moment of wonder in hopes that it would lead us to worship of the God who is worthy of our worship. You see, in the Bible, there's this story in the book of Matthew where Jesus is hanging out with the disciples, and it says the disciples come to him. It's the beginning of chapter 18. And it says the disciples ask him a question. Jesus, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? It seems like such a weird guy question, right? Like a bunch of dudes, no surprise. Hey, Jesus, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, right? Probably like doing this number. Who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, Jesus? Now, we don't have a lot of details about this story in Matthew 18, but it does say that when the disciples ask him that question, he says he goes and gets a little kid. I imagine that before he goes to get the little kid, Jesus goes, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Really, guys? And he pauses. And they're probably like maybe sitting in a circle or something, and Jesus is hanging out with them, teaching them. They ask the question, who's the greatest? Jesus goes, hang on a second. Some of the translations say that he calls a kid. Some are that he went and got a kid. Either way, he goes and grabs a little kid. I imagine him, maybe he's the age of Jude, 4.5. He comes back, puts this kid in the middle of the circle of the disciples. And then he points at the kid and he says, this little kid is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And then he says something that is almost offensive. He says this, don't miss this. He takes it a step further. He says, and unless you have the mind of this child, unless you change and become like this child, you will never even enter the kingdom of God. You see, there are so many times in our life where when you leave this place, people are going to pick on you. You're going to be labeled as weird, one of those Jesus freaks. Maybe it's because you go to church on a regular basis. Maybe it's because you read your Bible. Maybe it's because you pray in public before your meals. Maybe it's because you sit at lunch with the least of these in your school. Maybe there's something about you, the way that you are compelled to love other people because of Christ living inside of you. And his Spirit is drawing you to the ways of his kingdom. And you get to the point where other people are just like, what is wrong with them? And then almost it's like playing with something invisible, right? If I pull out an invisible deck of cards for my kids, do you think they have a problem with that? No, because they are childlike and they've yet to grow up to the point where childlike things feel childish. When I read from 2 Corinthians and I say, don't fix your eyes on what is seen, fix your eyes on what is unseen. Some of your natural tendency is to be like, unseen, how can I believe in a world that is unseen? Eternity, I can't even wrap my mind around that. It feels pretty childish to believe in something like eternity. It's not childish, but it does take a faith that is childlike. So my hope for you tonight is that maybe we would just pause for just a moment, students and adults, to just pause and ask yourself if maybe you've become a little bit too apathetic and cynical. To ask yourself if maybe wonder needs to be reawakened in your heart and in your life, so that you will get to the point where you can have a childlike faith in a God with whom literally anything is possible. Some of you are here tonight and you need that impossible thing to be true for you. Maybe it's a blessing of your faith, the faith to believe for the first time. Maybe it's something to do with your health. Maybe it's a need that you need met. God is able. He's an amazing God. You can call it miracles, call it supernatural, whatever you want. Magic is real. Seeing is not believing, but believing is seeing. And sometimes you have to believe something in order to see it, because what you believe has the power to change what you see. So will you bow your head? Will you close your eyes? Will you pray with me? I don't know where each of you are on your spiritual journey, but I want to give you the opportunity to just kind of walk through some things that you might need to respond to tonight in faith. For some of you right now, as we're praying, it's just the faith to believe. You've never taken that first step of faith. Some of you took the first step of faith earlier this afternoon. You're like, yeah, man, I've got a straitjacket. I don't want it anymore. I'm ready to say yes to Jesus. But I don't even know what that looks like. I came forward and then you prayed for me, but I don't even know what's next. What's next is for you to do what Jesus said, to change, to repent, and develop the mind of a child. You're going to grow up. You're going to put away childishness and foolish things, but you got to hold on to the childlike faith and the belief in a God with whom anything is possible. And for you, that might mean praying right now and just repenting. Say, God, I'm sorry for messing up. I'm sorry for sinning against you. I'm sorry for allowing myself to get influenced by the world and allowing this deception to take root in my life and becoming a slave to sin and to the point where I was trapped and entangled by a straitjacket. But God, I know that you came to this earth, that you lived a perfect life, that you died, and that you rose again so that I could have life. Ask him to set you free. And just by asking and repenting of your sins, he will cleanse you. He will keep his promise. He will cleanse you from all unrighteousness. And right now, tonight, you can be made right to stand before a holy God someday in all of eternity, as crazy as that sounds, and live the life that you are meant to live right now on earth. For some of you, you've been coming to church for years. Maybe it's an adult in the room. You've been coming so long, and you know this stuff. You know exactly what to say and how to give advice. You've been coming to church for years, but somewhere along the way, you've lost your wonder. And tonight, I want it to be reawakened. For some of you, you're young, you're a freshman in high school, or you're a seventh grader, and already the culture around you is telling you, like, grow up, grow up, grow up. Don't believe in childish things. And you get shamed, and you feel embarrassed because you feel weird. Of course you're weird. You're a child of God. You start investing in things that are unseen, people are going to look at you like you're crazy. hope is that if already cynicism is starting to creep into your heart, that you too would rediscover a childlike faith, and that wonder would be reawakened. If you're here tonight and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty plugged in, gave my life to Christ years ago, I've been reading my Bible, I've been studying, you've been studying so hard, now you feel like you know a lot, your theology is really strong, and you like to look at the world around you and just go, how? Maybe some of that how has crept into your faith. And tonight, maybe you need a little bit more wow. You might ask God to blow your mind, to expand your vision, and to reawaken wonder. So while we're praying, while we're closing our eyes, I want to ask everyone to use your imagination. We talked about imagination tonight, so that's how I want to close. Let's use our imaginations for just a moment. I want you to imagine that there is nothing. It's just darkness. God hasn't created any of us, any of this. There's no earth. It's just darkness. It's hard to imagine, but try. And then God speaks. He says, let there be light. No one argued with him. Nothing talked back. No one said, no, I don't want to do that. It just listened. Creation. It just responded instantly. Boom, there was light. He looks at stars that he formed and created, and planets and solar systems and a sun, and he starts arranging it in a certain order, and he arranges stars in certain shapes. He says, this star, I want you to go this way, and this planet, I want you to tilt at this axis and spin at this tempo, and I want you to circle around the sun at this speed and this shape. And all of it, all the stars and the planets, the galaxies, all of creation, it just obeys God's very command. It just listens and obeys. And then he looks at earth, and he looks at parts of the earth that he'd formed and says, rise up, and imagine like mountain ranges just beginning to grow up out of the earth and form. He looks at other parts of the earth and he says, I want you to create oceans and fill with water. And then he looks at the moon and the sun and said, I want the tide to come in like this, and I want it to go back out like this with waves. And all of it listens, the ocean obeys. All of it, all of creation just obeys his very command. He creates us in his image and says, wow, this is really good. Lots of years go by. The world is broken because he gave us the freedom. He gave us the freedom to love him instead of forcing his love on us. And so many times we just said no. But he gave us that freedom. And fast forward, and finally Jesus is on the scene. It's one of my favorite stories. Jesus is on a boat. The Bible says that Jesus is down at the bottom of a boat, asleep. And everyone at the top of the boat, they're freaking out because there's a storm. And it is raining and thundering and lightning, and there are waves crashing up against the side of the boat and the sea. And all the disciples are like, this boat's gonna sink. What in the world? We need some help. Where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? And they're like, oh my gosh, Jesus is sleeping. He's down at the bottom of the boat asleep. Imagine this, picture this in your head. You're on this sea and you're on this wooden boat and it's like rocking back and forth, this big boat, and all the disciples are freaking out. Everyone's running around, buttoning down hatches, trying to fix sails, whatever they do to keep a boat from sinking. And they're like, where's Jesus? Oh, he's in the bottom. Someone go get him. And they go down the steps or slide down the ladder or whatever, and they go over and Jesus is maybe sleeping on the bottom on the floor, and they grab Jesus by the shoulders. Imagine grabbing Jesus by the shoulders and shaking him, waking him up and being like, Jesus, wake up, wake up, wake up. You have to come help us. There's a storm. The boat's going to sink. Come help us or we're all going to die. This is what the Bible says. The Bible says that Jesus, he climbs up and he walks up to the edge of the boat, and Jesus, the same God, fully man, stretches his hands and arms out over the creation that he had made, and he just goes, shh, shh. All of it, the glass, the sea becomes like glass. It's perfectly still. The thunder and the lightning goes away. The storm stops. All of creation, it obeys his very command. It is all in awe and wonder of Jesus. And then imagine you're standing there and you just took that in. imagine Jesus turning and looking at you, reaching out his hand and saying, you, I love you so much. There is more potential of magic inside of you than everything else. I am in awe of you. You are made in my image, and I love you so much. Will you just turn away from yourself, and will you just come follow me so you can live the life that I have for you? It is so much better than anything offered to you by this world. And then you look at Jesus, and some of you are just still saying, no. No thanks, Jesus. I mean, I'm in awe of what you just did with that sea, and it listened and obeyed, but not me. Why? Why would you say no to that? It's a trick question. I already know the answer. It's because there is something in your life that you're saying yes to. There is something that seems greater than that offer. And so rather than obey the command of Jesus to lay down your life and follow him, you would rather fix your eyes on this temporary thing that you can see because you don't realize it's a fake and you've been duped. And that's because the wonder has been crushed and you've decided to settle. And that would break my heart to see you settle for a counterfeit when Jesus is offering you himself, the real thing. So here's what I would like to do. I would like for the band, before we start singing, to just play the way they're playing right now. And I want to invite you guys to pray wherever you are, to just have a couple moments to give you guys a chance to pray and respond to what you feel like God is asking you to respond to. For some of you, that might be kneeling down next to the seat where you are and just hitting your knees for a couple minutes. For some of you, it might mean to get things real, to get real with God and to go to talk to one of your youth leaders, to just go pull them aside and be like, listen, I need to talk. I still got that straitjacket thing I'm dealing with, and I'm ready to get things straight with God. I want to be set free. I want this childlike faith Harris is talking about. And for some of you, in a moment when we worship, if you're ready to worship, I hope that you lift your hands and that you praise God for all that he is worthy of. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, a supernatural, miraculous God with whom anything is possible, that is greater and more powerful than anything in this world. And that throughout that experience of worship, you feel a little bit of childlike wonder again. Dear Heavenly Father, right now across this room, as people begin to pray and respond to your Spirit and how you lead, God, my prayer is, as I've been saying over and over and over again, like a broken record all night long, awaken our wonder. Help us to not be content, lest we grow comfortably numb and go through the motions and waste our lives away on temporary things. Oh, God, help us to be discontent with the counterfeits. Help us to be willing to only embrace what is real. Help us to leave future quests and take our thoughts captive and use discernment, and not let the world think for us, but to wonder if there's more going on around us than meets our eye, to recognize that sometimes if we believe something, it changes what we see, and that we will begin to discover truth that will continue to set us free. God, thank you, as Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians, if we don't get misdirected, we can understand that even though outwardly we're all wasting away, inwardly we are being renewed day by day. But this light, these momentary afflictions in this world, they are preparing us for an eternal glory beyond all comparison. And God, therefore, we fix our eyes not on things that are seen, but on what is unseen, because what we see is temporary, but what is unseen is eternity, and we were made for that. So God, may what we do here tonight, may it echo in eternity. To some it may feel childish, but God, tonight we express a childlike faith in awe of who you are. We ask all these things in your name, because it is the only name worth asking them in the name of Jesus. And everybody said,